Getting ready for game one of the World Series between the Texas Rangers and the St. Louis Cardinals on a cool, breezy evening here in St. Louis. Time now for the presentation of tonight's starting lineups. So let's send it over to the public address announcer, John Ulett.
It's now time to meet the starting lineups for both teams. Please welcome, from the American League champion Texas Rangers, manager Ron Washington. Leading off and playing second base, Ian Kinsler. Batting second and playing shortstop, Elvis Andrus. Batting third, playing center field, Josh Hamilton. Batting fourth and playing first base, Michael Young. Batting fifth and playing third base, Adrian Beltre. Batting sixth and playing right field, Nelson Cruz. Batting seventh, catching and in the bullpen, Mike Napoli. Batting eighth and playing left field, David Murphy. And tonight's starting pitcher, warming up in the left field bullpen, C.J. Wilson. The starters for the National League champion St. Louis Cardinals. Please welcome the manager, Tony La Russa. Shortstop and leading off, Rafael Furcal. Playing center field, batting second, John Jay. Playing first base, batting third, Albert Pujols. Playing left field and batting fourth, Matt Holliday. Playing right field and batting fifth, Lance Berkman. Playing third base, batting sixth, David Freese. Catching, batting seventh, in the bullpen, Yadier Molina. Batting eighth and playing second base, Nick Punto. And tonight's starting pitcher, warming up in the right field bullpen and batting ninth, Chris Carpenter. Let's hear it for the Texas Rangers and your St. Louis Cardinals.
let's talk about the Texas Rangers. The Rangers are here in the World Series because they proved to the Detroit Tigers that they can pound the ball. They did that in Game 6. They did it with mediocre at best starting pitching, but a bullpen that was just shut down work by the guys that Ron Washington would call out of that bullpen. And now I welcome in my partner, Tim McCarver. It's not too much unlike how the Cardinals beat the Milwaukee Brewers, but I'll tell you, here in St. Louis, nobody expected the Cardinals to be here in this World Series.
Well, Joe, I'm going to take you back to a night, the first game of the World Series, 1988. Kirk Gibson with the game-winning home run, and your father with a game-winning call. Give it to me.
Said, I don't believe what I just saw.
Well, and Cardinal fans don't believe what they've seen out of the Cardinals over the last 7 weeks. 10.5 behind on August 25th. That's of the wild card. They won the wild card the last day of the season. They beat the Phillies in 5, the Brewers in 6. And understand that tonight they're playing the toughest ball club that they played all year. I mean, these Rangers can do everything and everything well.
This is going to be a heck of a series. We cannot wait. Evenly matched teams. It's Game 1 tonight. Chris Carpenter takes the field, and he is surrounded by his teammates on a 48-degree night for Game 1 of this World Series. It is cold. There is rain in the area. We should get along okay without any stoppages in play. And right down the street, they brew it. Tonight's opening pitch is brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. And now the lineup Chris Carpenter will deal with. The Rangers starting lineup brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. It'll be Kinsler, then Andrus, the number 2 hitter. Josh Hamilton, Michael Young, Adrian Beltre, Nelson Cruz out of that magical number 7 spot. He is hitting 6th. Hitting 7th is Napoli, providing Cruz some protection with David Murphy, and then C.J. Wilson pitching and batting 9th. And now there's Chris Carpenter, who has been very good this season. He has come on in his start in Game 5 of the division series at Philadelphia, 3-hit shutout. A big reason why the Cardinals are still playing on the 19th of October.
That's why in big games he's a big gun, beating Doc Halladay 1-0, his best friend. He has never lost in postseason at home. He's 5-0 with an excellent earned run average for the former Cy Young Award winner.
And the home plate umpire and the crew chief for this World Series is Jerry Lane. With Gibson at first, Marquez at second, Ron Kulpa. He's at third, Barrett and Cedarstrom down the right field line. These guys all worked in the divisional series round, and they're back for the World Series. Here is Ian Kinsler trying to get it started. A .214 hitter on the road during the regular season. Right now working on a 9-game hitting streak during the postseason. Glad you're with us as we bring it to you from St. Louis. Here we go. Ball 1 up and away.
Hey, David Freese is expecting a bunt from Ian Kinsler, playing him very shallow in front of the bag. Ian Kinsler, a very good pull hitter. He does not hit a lot of balls to right field.
Count goes to 2-0 from Chris Carpenter, and there have been concerns here in this city about the right elbow of Chris Carpenter. He says he is fine and ready to go. And that is right past David Freese. You called it. He was in. Kinsler will round the bag and come back as Furcal gets to it. But why Freese was that close, even with a count 2-0, is hard to explain.
David playing shallow. David is not a good defensive third baseman, but was the most valuable player in the NLCS because of his bat. But playing that shallow, it's tough to corral and get a good hop from Kinsler, as we said, a real pull hitter.
So the leadoff man is on, and Elvis Andrus will dig his way into the plate. See how Ron Washington wants to play it here at the start. They're in at the corners again. Freese is a step closer than he was before.
I think they'll bunt here. Nope. The reason I said that is Molina is such a lethal threat behind the plate. Better safe than sorry. You don't want to run too much on Molina.
And if the National League is considered more of a running league, Texas Rangers are a running club playing in the AL. They do it all. Kinsler draws a throw from Carpenter, the guy behind the plate. Yadier Molina is one of the game's best at stopping a running game.
42% for his career, tops in the big leagues.
There he goes, hit and run, throw down by Molina, 1 out.
That's the problem in running against Molina. He did not have a good pitch to handle the ball in the dirt. What a cannon. Oh my goodness.
And an early statement by Molina with this Rangers club that likes to run. And now a strike is in at the knees. 1-2 on Elvis Andrus, who's been hitting better his last 5 games of this postseason. 286. Now the base is empty, 1 out. Inside, he checked his swing, and it's 2-2. On deck is Josh Hamilton. After Hamilton, it's Michael Young. To the right side. Pujols goes far to get it, and now leads Carpenter the bag for the out. And a diving out for out number 2.
What a remarkable play by Chris Carpenter. The throw is low, the dive across the bag, and fortunately for the Cardinals and Chris, Elvis Andrus steps over him. There's the out. Oh boy, could that have been disastrous for Carpenter and the Cardinals. Like he may have extended that left shoulder.
And Barry Weinberg, the Cardinal trainer, trotted out, and Carpenter sent him back to the dugout. Carpenter, who is as big as a tight end or an NFL linebacker, just went through the bag, exposed his right hand, but he lives to tell about it. And with 2 out, nobody on, he makes Hamilton skip the rope.
The glove. Here's the bad part. The hand sprawled right in the middle of the bag, and Andrus, to his credit, did not step on it.
And you can hear Carpenter yelling at himself after that pitch bounces in. It's 2-0. If you didn't hear it, I won't tell you what he said. It wasn't good. 36 years old from New Hampshire. 6'6", 230. During the regular season, 11 wins. For Kyle, gets a high hop, and the inning is over. Let's go to the bottom of number 1 here in St. Louis, World Series. The 107th World Series. How about that second out? No score after a half. And now the Cardinals will set this lineup out there against the left-hander C.J. Wilson. Brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. For Cal leads it off. Then John Jay. Albert Pujols hits 3rd. Matt Holliday. Berkman 5th. David Freese, the MVP of the NLCS. Yadier Molina. Nick Punto is at second base, and Chris Carpenter pitching and batting 9th. And here is C.J. Wilson. Tim, he's a free agent to be. He's had the ball in game 1 of each round of the postseason, but he hasn't looked like an ace yet.
Not yet. 31 starts over his last 2 years, from closer to starter. In fact, and this is a key note, he has 52 saves in his career. It's the first time in World Series history that a guy with 52 saves, with that many saves, has started game 1. The Nolan Ryan influence, that's with all the innings pitched over 202 straight years.
And he played some center field. In fact, his manager, that's why he wants to hit rather than pitch. His manager, Ron Washington, said he still thinks he can play center. Here's Furcal leading it off, and he skips out of the way of ball 1. 48-degree night, and C.J. Wilson is a guy who goes through cryogenic therapy, where he is in a cryogenic tank. The other day went down to minus 295 degrees.
Gosh, that's cold. It's colder than it is here tonight at Busch.
Yeah, so he said 48 degrees is nothing. Of course, he came out of it and started talking like Austin Powers. Here's a 1-1. 2-1. So you can see the wind whipping around, whether it's that woman's boa behind John Jay. Oh, she lost a feather. Oh my goodness, crazy. Or it's the hair underneath the cap of C.J. Wilson. Count 2-1 on Furcal. That's low, 3-1. The next to Furcal is high in a leadoff walk. Here is the defense, which wasn't used for that first batter. It's Murphy in left, Hamilton in center, Nelson Cruz in right, Beltre, Andrews, Kinsler, and Young around the infield, and Mike Napoli, who had a brilliant first season with the Rangers, behind the plate. Furcal stole 9 bases during the regular season, a guy who started the year with the Dodgers, and he really added what the Cardinals lacked, and that was a legit leadoff type, playing in his first World Series, as is John Jay at the plate. Ball 1, and Napoli is going to go try and slow down C.J. Wilson.
Well, I mean, he immediately went out there. Ron Washington seeing 4 out of 5 balls to Furcal, and now the first pitch of ball to John Jay.
There's Mike Maddox in his 3rd year as pitching coach. And what do you say to Ron Washington when we left his office? You said you expect these starters to go deeper in the game. He said CJ owes us.
He did.
He said it with a smile on his face, but he's serious.
Oh yeah.
Here's a 1-0. In for a strike, 1-1. If CJ owes Ron Washington, Carpenter and the Cardinal starters owe Tony La Russa, because these two teams are here on the strength of their bullpen. Here is a 1-1. Strike 2. John Jay took over in center when the Cardinals made that controversial deal, sending Colby Rasmus to Toronto toward the end of July. And this team just simply got better, and that was a part of it. They had grown weary of the hot and cold that Colby Rasmus was bringing with him, and they established Jay in center. They added to their bullpen and their rotation in that deal, and it made a big difference. There's John Mozeliak, the general manager of the Cardinals. Took a lot of hits when that deal was made, but he and La Russa are glad they did it. Double play ball. Beltre out at second and out at first. Got them both. 5-4-3 and well turned by Beltre and Kinsler.
Well, you know why it was well turned? Beltre waited and then did not give a hard toss to Kinsler, realizing with the left-handed batter up that Kinsler was playing Jay to pull. So it took him longer to get to second. Very nicely done by the Rangers.
And it means Pujols bats with the bases empty. Albert, who has 15 career postseason home runs, a .339 career batter during the postseason, and his LCS was only outdone by the guy hitting 3 spots behind him, David Freese. Good fastball, 91 from Wilson, strike 1. The Cardinals hit into a double play after the Rangers lost. Kinsler on the bases running. Hard hit right at Beltre. And the inning is over. He throws it anyway, but that was caught on the line. That only counts for 1 out. After 1 here in St. Louis. Game 1. No, it did not. Out either way. No score after 1. One of the classier ball players in the big leagues, Michael Young, steps in. He is in many ways the face of this franchise and is #1 in their history. Games played, runs, hits, doubles, triples. And he has played all over as he takes down and away ball one. It'll be Young, Adrian Beltre, and Nelson Cruz for the Rangers. Second inning, no score, game one. Counts 2-0 from Carpenter, who got around a leadoff hit thanks to Molina in the first. Got Andrus and Hamilton on groundouts. Young can sit on a pitch to Hammer on 2-0. And he fouls it 2-1. Here's a guy who has 6 seasons of 200 or more hits. And that list reminds you how good of a hitter Jeter's been and how unbelievable Ichiro has been since coming from Japan. Here's a 2-1. 2 hops, 2 for Carl. 1 out. Let's give you a little more about the Rangers. Our State Farm Get to a Better State recap. For auto, home, life, and banking, get to a better state. The Rangers winning in the ALCS. They did it in 6 games. And they did it with terrific work out of their bullpen led by Alexio Gondo.
Alexio Gondo was a starter that made the All-Star team. And that shows you how fortified the Ranger bullpen is.
You had a guy that can give you length and can be dominant. He was their setup guy last year. You saw the numbers for Cruz. 6 homers, 13 RBIs. He's on deck. 1 ball, 1 strike. And that made everybody say, well, he's the best number 7 hitter in the history of the postseason. He's going to try to make himself now the best number 6 hitter.
Right.
In the history of the postseason. The 1-1. That is off the glove of Freese. And we'll see if Beltre will make it to second. He will. It's a 1-out double. So the first extra base hit of the night, it belongs to Beltre. Right down the line and off the glove of David Freese.
The one piece of good news for the Rangers is that Adrian Beltre had a chance to rest for the World Series. Remember, he had some leg problems. That ball right off the back of the glove of David Freese looked like a fastball that was down. Second hit for the Rangers, but Beltre running very well to second base. Legs are healthy.
Guy who loves to play the game, and it brings in Nelson Cruz. Tailing pitch for strike 1. The numbers were staggering. What he's done overall, but that was after a 1-for-15 division series. The Tigers just could not get him out when it counted. 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Joe, Nelson Cruz, when you think about it, had more RBIs in the 11th inning, 7, than all the Cardinals had against the Brewers except Albert Pujols.
He was Mr. 11th inning. With a walk-off grand slam and a 3-run home run in Detroit. That's down and away in the count 2-1. Two balls and a strike on a guy who is 31 and actually started in the Mets organization. That's ball 3. And Cruz wants the home plate umpire to check the baseball. Napoli on deck. Nelson Cruz is in his 4th organization. Was with the Mets, as I said, Oakland, Milwaukee. Back in 08, the Rangers had him, sent him out. Redid his swing with the help of Scott Service. He hit a AAA and then came up, and he hasn't stopped hitting. Full count.
Good pitch from Carpenter with first base open. Even though it's the early innings, you would think that if Chris misses, he's going to miss away. That's a cut fastball. Good pitch down.
So now does he challenge Nelson Cruz?
I don't think so.
Here's a 3-2, and he walked it. If Cruz was going to chase it, Carpenter would let him, but I think the reputation of Nelson Cruz preceded him into that first at bat, and now it's Mike Napoli.
Yeah, a rule of thumb is you don't pitch around hitters with first base open in the early part of the game, because that creates base runners and chances of big innings for teams. But in that particular situation, I think it was the shrewd move by Carpenter.
But this is precisely why Ron Washington has Napoli behind Cruz.
Right.
Instead of Cruz hitting 7th with Murphy on deck, he's got a guy behind him that hit 30 home runs during the regular season and hit 320. It's 2 on, 1 out. Early chance for the Rangers here in the second. Strike 2. And he's 3 for 3 in his career against the guy he's facing, but obviously never with as much on the line as there is now.
That was when Mike was with the Angels and Carpenter was with the Blue Jays.
Here is the 0-2. That missed outside, barely. Ball 1. Very good with 2 strikes. And he has the best average in the big leagues, 369 since the 4th of July. Now the count goes to 2-2. One out double by Beltre, followed by a walk to Nelson Cruz. Now Molina is going to go out and either calm down Chris Carpenter or talk about the 2-2 pitch. You can hear Carpenter yelling at himself after that 1-2 pitch bounced in. Now the 2-2. Double play ball for Cobb. Flips. Punto in the middle. 6-4-3. A fiery Carpenter walks off the mound after an inning and a half. No score. Downtown St. Louis in the distance where the Rams play. And if we continue panning, you would see Busch Stadium to the south of that stadium. And here's Matt Holliday, who is first up. Cleanup hitter for Tony La Russa with Berkman and Freese to follow. Anybody gets on, Yadier Molina. We'll give you a look back at the Cardinals and how they got to this point after Holliday does something to start the second. Cardinals hit .310 against Milwaukee pitching. And Matt was a part of that, strike 1. And that's a part of this Cardinal coaching staff, Mark McGwire, and he's starting to get credit for changing the approach for a lot of these Cardinal hitters. Here's one up the middle. Kinsler takes care of it. 1 out. Had a chance to talk to Tony La Russa before the game, and actually Eric Karros talked to Tony about why he thought McGwire would be a good hitting coach, and he said, first of all, he couldn't, when he got out of the game, get enough of watching East Coast games, Midwest games, and then games on the West Coast. Was talking hitting with his kids. Learned how to become a better hitter after his first 4 years in Oakland. And a lot of these young guys like David Freese, Skip Schumacher, and others will tell you he has taught them what to look for when they go to the plate. Keeps it pretty simple. As Berkman takes ball 1 inside.
Sometimes hitting instructors, even at the big league level, become too mechanically oriented. And talking pitch counts, a lot of times you can get predictable pitches from an experienced hitter like Mark McGwire. He goes through the thinking apparatus, and a lot of times that's more important than the mechanical part of hitting.
Count goes to 2-0 on Berkman, who is much more productive power-wise from the other side of the plate. What a year he had. Strike 1. production had dipped. Last year he was a rent-a-player with the Yankees. Look at where he ranks among switch hitters all time. 358 home runs, and he's up on the count here, 3-1. Some organizations thought he was finished. Signed a 1-year, $8 million deal, and now he's re-upped for next year at $12 million. After hitting 31 home runs and being an NL All-Star. Off the plate. Tough play for Beltre. Gloves and gets him 2 out. And with the bases empty, David Freese will walk to the plate. Hometown product, and his postseason has been jaw-dropping.
12 for 22. And a deep freeze indeed that he put the Brewers with tremendous power the other way. We talked to him about that before the game. He said he tries to let the ball get deep, and what that means is if it gets deep, you have to hit the ball to center field or to right field. The only time you pull the ball is when your hands and bat are out in front. So he is one of the great guys in baseball, young hitters, to let the ball get deep.
He's been through a lot injury-wise. He finally feels like he's turned the corner in that category. He was hit on the left hand. That's why he's wearing that padding on his left batting glove by Linebrink of the Atlanta Braves on May 1st, and was hitting better than .350 at the time. That let his legs get healthy. He came back, and right now he is seeing the ball extremely well. Counts 3-0.
So in a period of about 3 years, David Freese has had operations on both ankles and his left hand.
So he's swinging on 3-0. Might have. The pitch was on the inside corner, 3-1. Went to Lafayette High School here in St. Louis. And he draws a 2-out walk. Second walk handed out by C.J. Wilson. Yadier Molina will walk to the plate.
And Joe, speaking of injuries, David Freese was a freshman when Ryan Howard of the Philadelphia Phillies was a senior at Lafayette High. David telling us, and Ryan Howard, I know, was watching the game. He had an operation on his Achilles tendon. It's very, very serious, and we wish him well.
Great guy, great player.
Sure is. That happened in that 1-0 game that Chris Carpenter beat the Phillies. Ryan Howard was the last hitter of the game. Went down, and as anyone knows, that is a very, very serious injury, the Achilles tendon.
But this stat, we always talk about how walks will kill you.
Unbelievable.
Especially in the postseason. They walked 22 guys, the Rangers, in the ALCS. And not one of them came around to score.
And 2 in this game, and it's still a scoreless game.
Here's a 1-0. 2 balls, no strikes, and Molina.
Don't keep taunting fate, however. Don't think that streak like that's going to continue.
Molina had a career year any way you look at it offensively. Two and 1. Career highs in average home runs, RBIs, runs, hits. There was a time when La Russa would say, I don't care if he hits 0. I want him catching every day. That's how good he is behind the plate. As he slices this one foul. 2-2.
Yadier telling us yesterday that both brothers, Jose and Benji, are here in the ballpark along with his mom. They're the only trio of brothers to all have World Series rings.
Yadier now has played in more than his brothers, but his brothers each have 2 rings. Yadier has 1 from '06. Here's a 2-2. Inside a full count, and Freese will get a head start at first. And now Wilson slows it down.
A lot of times if you're a hitter, you can tell what kind of pitches you're going to get by looking at the outfielders. I don't think that with Josh Hamilton in right center field that Molina would get anything to pull the left center.
Runner goes, and a foul. Cardinals are playing in their 18th World Series. The Rangers playing in their 2nd consecutive. Talking to these Rangers, they started thinking about this at the end of Game 5 last year. Feel like they didn't really play their game against the Giants. The Giants rotation had a lot to do with that. Runner goes, and a ground ball to short should end the inning. Elvis guides it across after 2 in Game 1 in St. Louis. Cold night. No score. Centennial celebration and enter for a chance to win at ChevyBaseball.com. David Murphy takes a strike, and we're underway in the 3rd. Murphy, then C.J. Wilson as the pitcher bats in these NL games, NL hosted games, and then Ian Kinsler. Strike 2, and that was the first good breaking ball we've seen Chris Carpenter throw.
Used it very effectively in defeating the Phillies 1-0. That was a cutter right there. Different. There's a little loop in the curveball. The cutter has that sliding action down and in to left-handers.
Here's a 1-2. Down and in, 2-2. Murphy's been red hot, having a good postseason, and he hits it on a line at Punto, 1 out. Let's get to a better state. Give you a recap brought to you by State Farm for auto, home, life, and banking. Get to a better state. The Cardinals and how they got here. Clinching in Milwaukee in 6 games. They trailed the NL wildcard by 10.5 on August 25th. They defeated Philadelphia. They defeated Milwaukee. And now they take on the Texas Rangers, and C.J. Wilson isn't holding anything back. Strike 1.
Well, for a guy who read Ted Williams' book on hitting when he was 12 years old, and then 2 years later, the book on hitting by Wade Boggs, he considers himself a hitter, even though he doesn't hit.
1 for 4 this year, in the count 1-1.
How about that? Lifetime, he has 1 hit for 9 at-bats, and that 1 hit a triple. Odd.
Here's a 1-1. That one runs away from C.J. Wilson. Strike 2.
He's a delightful, talkative, gregarious guy and loves to talk about his hitting. A lot of pitchers do.
And Formula One racing.
Yeah.
As he hits the ball in the air to left center field, didn't get it all. John Jay has out number 2.
I think Ron Washington is concerned in the National League ballparks about his pitchers getting at-bats. He's not worried about hits. You get 4 at-bats, that means you've done well.
Here's what Ron Washington is worried about. Injury.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I mean, he doesn't.
That's true.
He's going to go base to base. If somebody's on, his guys are going to bunt. There's going to be no hitting and running. He didn't practice base running with his pitchers during the break or leading into this World Series because he didn't want guys rounding bases, twisting an ankle. He just wants to get out of here healthy.
So run 1 base at a time if you're a pitcher for the Rangers in the National League ballpark.
1 ball, 1 strike. The irony of it is Tony La Russa, who had been in the American League for his career, came to the Cardinals, and he loves that part of the game now. His pitchers hit more than any other pitching group in the National League. He'll hit and run with guys, and he uses it as a weapon. Counts 1 and 2. Money and Kinsler. Should end the inning. Chris Carpenter is through 3 scoreless. He has allowed 2 hits. Rangers have left 1. It'll be Punto Carpenter for Cal coming up. Game 1. No score. Well, you're looking into the commissioner's suite. MLB Commissioner Bud Selig, his wife Sue, First Lady Michelle Obama, Dr. Jill Biden. Major League Baseball is dedicating Game 1 of this World Series to veterans and their families. They were at St. Louis VA Medical Center today, where they visited with a group of veterans, Mrs. Obama, Dr. Biden, as Punto takes one down and in. They're visiting as part of their Joining Forces initiative, which calls for Americans to honor and support our troops, veterans, and military families, as Punto has the Cardinals' first hit of the night. And he's on to lead off this 3rd inning. And that gives Carpenter a chance to bunt, but as we said, it's not always a given with La Russa that his pitchers are up there just to give away an out.
Sometimes they square around and they'll butcher boy. What a butcher boy is. It was originated by Casey Stengel back in the 50s and early 60s when he was Yankees and Mets manager. You square around very early and then you swing the bat. You move the infielders, swing the bat, try to hit it on the ground.
He pulls back in time. That was pretty close.
It was.
And he went. They appealed, and it's strike 1.
Yeah, I think that's a good call by first base umpire Greg Gibson right there. That's a nudge toward bunting the ball.
Initially called ball 1. Now it's strike 1. Carpenter had 11 hits during the regular season and has 2 this postseason. That just missed, and the count 1-1.
A tentative Adrian Beltre charging. He was more than halfway when that ball crossed home plate.
Leadoff man is on. Carpenter missed it. That's strike 2. See if La Russa stays with the straight bunt or if he changes it up. So Zeo Kendo, postseason hero here in St. Louis with a big home run against the Giants back in '87 in the NLCS, flashed the signs. And a check on Punto.
That World Series back in 1987, the Cardinals advancing, playing the Minnesota Twins. The Twins won the first 2 games at home. The Cardinals won the next 3 games in their home, and then the Twins finished it out by winning games 6 and 7 in Minneapolis.
Here is a bunt, and it will roll foul for out number 1. That's a strikeout. Carpenter does not do his job. Down there in the wind and in the elements is Kenny Rosenthal. Kenny, what's up?
Joe, you remember the 2009 All-Star game, President Obama wearing his White Sox jacket out to the mound here at Busch Stadium. Well, Michelle Obama, far less partisan. Ron Washington was among those who met her before the game, and he said she's neutral. I said, Ron, how do you know? Did you ask her? He said, I could just tell. She's neutral.
And there's the moment before the game, which was nice, as we told you about their initiative, giving back to the not just the members of the U.S. military, but their families who go through so much. As Furcal digs in, 1 on, 1 out. Strike 1 on the inside corner.
We already have a representative of the White Sox, by the way, and A.J. Pierzynski.
We do. A new member of the Fox family who's been with us since the LCS began.
7th game.
Here is the 0-1. Furcal slaps it foul, strike 2. What is it with all you ex-catchers? You're just smarter than the rest. Is that it?
Right.
John Jay on deck.
I've told you what's going to be on my tombstone, haven't I?
What is it?
Pitchers did this.
I get no reference in that. Al Michaels, all the other play-by-play guys you've worked with.
No, just pitchers.
I've taken some time off your life. Always messing with you, trying to trick you. Here is the 0-2. A strikeout in the first of the night for C.J. Wilson.
Well, that pitch really diving out of the strike zone looked like a cutter from Wilson. He'll throw it inside to right-handers and away to right-handers. Well, that ball cutting down and in. Good play by Napoli. You can see the cut on that ball to get for a call.
I said first strikeout. My short-term memory gets half. He just struck out Carpenter on that bunt. So 2 strikeouts in the inning, and John Jay steps in. He bounced into a 5-4-3 double play his first time. And now he breaks his bat and checks on Kinsler. We're about to talk to Ron Washington, manager of the Rangers, as we go to the 4th. Good pitching, no score. And he is, there's nobody like him.
It's wonderful.
And he is, he just lets his guys go out and play. And I'm going to tell you, when we talk to these players, they love playing for Ron Washington.
Got that right.
Elvis Andrus first up, and that rides high and tight. I'm going to play you our visit with Ron Washington when we get a moment. Andrus and Hamilton, then Michael Young. No score in the 4th. Good pitching. C.J. Wilson, Chris Carpenter. 1 ball, 1 strike.
What's really going to be interesting is when we go to Texas for Game 3, how many people in the stands are going to be doing the wash when the Rangers get something going?
A little running in place.
Yeah.
Here is a 1-1. Showing bunt, pulling Freeze in. Ball 2 outside. Rangers have to start this World Series as they did last year on the road because the NL won the All-Star game the last 2 years. Now they can look at it a couple of ways as Molina tries to get rid of that pain on that foul tip. The Rangers can say, well, of course we get to the World Series and that's when the NL finally wins the All-Star game, but this year it was C.J. Wilson, tonight's starter, that gave up the home run to Prince Fielder in the 4th inning. And that was a 3-run shot, much to that guy's surprise, in the background. And C.J. Wilson was a losing pitcher, and because of that, the Rangers have to start on the road. And now that foul tip caught enough of Molina to bring the trainer out to give him a look.
A lot of times, Joe, when a foul tip hits the glove, people are inclined to think that that's okay because you're protected. But this one hits the glove and it looks like it bends back the middle finger or the heel on the left hand. It may have bounced up and hit his bare hand that he was trying to protect. But nope, it didn't. So it's the glove hand and the bottom hand when he's hitting that is giving him problems.
On a cold night. Ooh. The 2-2. And now this one skips in, ball 3. Elvis Andrus trying to get on. He grounded out to the right side, and that's the play Carpenter made, the diving out, going across the bag back in the 1st. Here's a 3-2. 1 out, strikeout number 1 for Carpenter, and we asked Ron Washington how he liked his starter C.J. Wilson tonight.
Well, he's been keeping the ball down. You know, sometimes it's a little too far down, but at least he's working down there, and he'll find out his release point and get it where he want to get it. But so far, it's going well.
Right. Just from a velocity standpoint, he appears to be throwing harder tonight than he did in the first 2 LCS games.
Well, you know, it's cool out there, and those guys are fresh, and that helps. And you know, more than anything else, it's just him hitting his spots. He keep hitting his spots. He'll keep getting us in here and keep giving us an opportunity to see what we can do.
All right, now I'm going to ask you the important stuff. Your wife told you to stop chewing sunflower seeds, and I see you still have some remnants in your mouth. Oh, there's some gum, too.
Yes, it's not that easy.
But you told us gum didn't do the trick.
It didn't do the trick. I'm going in the background.
Okay, you're going to sneak in the back and chew some seeds. Finally, you're gonna stay under control in that dugout in this World Series. You're gonna let it run.
Well, you know, it just depends on how we do. If we start swinging the bat, start putting some runs on the board, I'm more than certain that I'll get crazy, and I hope that's what happens.
We want to see it. All right, thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
All right,
bye-bye.
Back-to-back strikeouts to start this 4th inning. Elvis Andrus and now Hamilton looking on a good tailing pitch from Chris Carpenter.
That is a tailing fastball that was made famous by Greg Maddux, who is now the assistant to the general manager. Nobody did it better than Maddux. And Carpenter got the call. Excellent movement on that tailing fastball.
Trying to go through the 2, 3, and 4 hitters of the Rangers. Michael Young. Strike 1, and Carpenter seems to be settling in. And any fear about him having an elbow injury, we've seen velocity up to 93. That's typical of Carpenter. He doesn't throw much harder than that. The 0-1. There's a good curveball, over but low. Ball 1.
Yeah, that also negates that play at first base too. With the, I'm sure the Cardinals initially worried about a hyperextended left shoulder. Appears to be all right.
Here's a 1-1. Outside, 2-1. Rangers won a franchise record 96 games during the regular season. Won the division by 10 games over the Angels. Here's a 2-1. 2 hops for Kyle. He's got a great arm. And down go the Rangers. 1, 2, 3. Bottom of the 4th we go. Game 1. No score. Cardinals have flashed some leather through the first 4 innings of this one. Whether it's been on the mound with Carpenter or the play by Carpenter across the bag, the double play they turn, whatever. There's no score into the bottom of the 4th, and here is Pujols with Holiday and Berkman to follow. Against C.J. Wilson. Got around a leadoff hit last inning. First time up, and it was officially ruled and scored a line drive out to 3rd. Even though it showed on the replay, it bounced into the glove of Adrian Beltre. Pujols 0 for 1, and now the count 2-0.
We talked about this during the regular season. You'll come to the ballpark and you'll see a lot of left-handed hitters in which the infield employed the shift. Well, the Rangers are doing it for Pujols. That's very unusual because when you shift on a right-handed batter, you put the second baseman and shortstop on the left-hand side of the bag or close to it. And when he hits the ball, if he does, to an infielder on the left, it's a longer throw to first base.
C.J. Wilson behind on the count, and Pujols is granted time by Jerry Lane. What he's done since the 1st of September. And that got it. And Albert Pujols is on to start the inning.
C.J. Wilson trying to come inside. You remember what Ron Washington told us last inning? He's keeping the ball down, but sometimes too far down.
So now Holiday, who's starting to get hot at the end of that NLCS, does have a home run this postseason. Was bothered by a nerve issue in his hand down the stretch. As he shoots it down the right field line fair into the corner, and Albert Pujols will make it to 3rd and hold on a double by Holiday.
First extra base hit of the ball game. as Holiday does not try to do too much with that fastball away. Albert Pujols limping from first to third. And the Cardinals with the best scoring opportunity of the game right here.
And now it's up to Lance Berkman, who grounded out to third his first time up. Drove home 94 during the regular season. 6 RBIs this postseason. And he steps out. Ball 1 outside.
Normally with the infield back in the middle innings, nobody out in particular, the runner at third walks home. But in Albert Pujols' situation, his left leg is barking on him. So if the ball's hit hard to third, Beltre could come home.
To the right side, fair. Pujols scores. Here comes Holiday. And the Cardinals lead 2-0 in the 4th of game 1.
Both Matt Holiday and Lance Berkman pull the fastball away their first times up. The second time up, both go to right field. Holiday for the double, Berkman for the single to put the Cards on the board.
And well played by Nelson Cruz in right to hold Holiday to a single. Rather, Berkman. Holiday had the double, he scored, and Berkman now is at first with the first RBIs of this World Series. Here's David Freese. Down the right field line, and that ball will get out of play. So a hit batsman started it, then a double by Holiday and a 2-run single by Berkman. Another foul for a strike, and it's 0-2. Berkman was at least in discussions between the Cardinals and Rangers about being dealt to Texas in July, as ball 1 is down and in. And Berkman told the Cardinals and general manager John Mozeliak, "I got my family here. If you trade me, that's fine, but I won't re-sign in the offseason and come back to St. Louis." Cardinals in July thought they might be out of it. Certainly at the end of August thought they were out of it. And here they are in the World Series and leading game 1 2-0 in the 4th. Now the count 2-2 on David Freese. Ken Rosenthal, you have more.
And Berkman from the Rangers, they talked to him about coming there as a free agent, but Berkman ultimately signed with the Cardinals and then later called the Rangers an average team. Well, naturally, C.J. Wilson rose to the defense of his team, and at the All-Star game, Berkman left him a note congratulating him on the Rangers' success and said, "I guess I was wrong, not the first time."
He also called the contract that Adrian Beltre signed a reach. Beltre's been worth the money in Texas, and Berkman has been shockingly good in St. Louis. As Freese hits it to deep center. Back is Hamilton. Tagging is Berkman, and he will get into second with 1 out.
Excellent base running by Lance Berkman. Not because Hamilton was deep, but when he caught the ball, he was going toward the fence.
That ball almost got out of here to straightaway center on a cold night.
Well, we talked about Freese. with that power to center and to right field. You can see Berkman, he gets back closer to the bag as Hamilton gets closer to the wall and makes a nice play.
And now Yadier Molina, runner at second, 1 out. His best year driving in runs with 65 during the regular season. Has 3 this postseason. Base open, Punto on deck. Elvis Andrus to his left, a nice play, 2 out. The World Series on Fox is sponsored by the all-new Volkswagen Passat. That's Das Auto. By Bank of America, official bank of Major League Baseball. And by Viagra. Now it's Punto with a runner at second, 2 out. Nick singled his first time up. And they will intentionally walk Nick Punto and pitch to Chris Carpenter.
You know, in a very subtle way, Joe, this is what the National League introduces. Coming into this game, 31 starts, over 450 innings. C.J. Wilson, as a starter for the Rangers, has not walked anybody intentionally. But in the National League, you have the 8th place hitter hitting in front of the pitcher, and this situation comes up quite often.
And you can see with that ERA, the second time through the lineup, Wilson has struggled. In fact, CJ has a career record during the postseason of 1-4, an ERA of 5.4. He's lost his last 4 decisions. He's on the short end here tonight, and will deal with his counterpart Chris Carpenter, 2 on 2 out, trying to limit the scoring to 2 here in the 4th.
But in the process of limiting the scoring, you have the leadoff batter, Rafael Furcal, at least from a Cardinal standpoint, leading off the bottom of the 5th. Again, it's when that DH is not involved, it changes.
Out in front of that pitch, strike 1. This is what they consider an advantage for an NL team during the World Series, playing at home. The problem for the Rangers is when the Cardinals go on the road, they have a DH on their roster in Alan Craig, or turn Holiday into the DH and let Craig play the outfield to get an extra bat in the lineup. Counts 0-2 on Carpenter.
And that is something that normally does not happen when the National League goes on the road, or a National League team goes on the road in the World Series.
2 hits, a hit batsman, a walk in the inning. An 0-2 count on Carpenter. Runners at first and second. That ends the inning. We just had a chance to visit with Tony La Russa, the Cardinals manager, as his team is now up 2-0 going into the 5th. Carpenter back to the hill. Adrian Beltre, Nelson Cruz, and Mike Napoli will try to get something done here in inning number 5, and that curveball rolls to the plate, does not break, and it's ball 1. Beltre doubled his first time up. The Cardinals pitched around Nelson Cruz. Napoli bounced into a double play, ball 2.
Count in Beltre's favor. He'll look for something to drive here on this cold night.
Hit 32 home runs during the regular season, and he's got a base hit into right to start this 5th. Here's our chat with Tony La Russa. First question, obviously, about what he's seeing from his right-hander Chris Carpenter tonight.
Well, I think the first inning, you know, he was the balls are a little slick. That happens in the cold weather, and but he's gotten more command as it goes along, and when he's got command, he's tough.
2 injury issues, Tony. Is Chris all right after diving into first, and is Albert all right?
Albert took that on the foot, and it's going to be sore, throb. It'll probably be more sore tonight when he gets the adrenaline out of his body instead of in it. But I mean, again, that was, you saw a smile on Carr's face. That's a crazy play, and he came out of it fine.
You know, we've shown a lot of Ron Washington running in place and waving guys home and yelling and screaming. You don't do much of that.
In the inside.
You're running on the inside?
On the inside. But, you know, I think you just got to be honest. And Ron is very enthusiastic. That's the way he played. That's the way he coaches, the way he manages. As long as it's sincere, I think it's great the way he does it. And I run on the inside.
Tony, thanks for your time.
All right.
All right. Tony La Russa, who is #3 in the all-time managerial list for wins. He has been in a Cardinal uniform now for 16 years, and 9 times he's taken him to the postseason. Here's a 1-1 to Nelson Cruz. It skips in 2-1.
There have been 576 managers since the beginning of baseball, when the 2 leagues started back in the early 1900s, and to be 3rd behind John McGraw. Tony is almost a modern day John McGraw in my view. Innovative, resourceful, smart.
Connie Mack, #1 all time, then McGraw. That's fouled out of play, 2-2. He started with the White Sox back in 1979, and then in '86 moved over to Oakland. He won 2 World Series in '89 in the midst of all that success, the late '80s with the A's, and it totals up to 2,728 wins, 3rd most all time. That is down and away, and the count full.
Notice the Cardinals so far are not messing with Nelson Cruz inside. He burned the Detroit Tigers with the 6 home runs in the LCS. So far, the Cardinals are staying away from him.
Leadoff base hit, and now a strikeout for out #1. 3rd strikeout of the night for Carpenter as he gets Nelson Cruz.
And that was a mistake. A slider that backed up around the letters, meant to be away. Look at Molina. It backs up, and Carpenter got away with one there. Watch the spin.
And I know what's going through your mind. Not every pitch goes where it's meant to go.
But that was going through my mind, and you're right.
We've been doing this for a while. 1 on, 1 out. The batter is Napoli. That is fouled out of play.
Well, that's what Ron Washington was saying. As long as C.J. Wilson continues to hit his spots, he'll give them, the Rangers, a chance to get back in the dugout and do what they do best, and that's score runs. But you got to hit the spots. Location and movement. There's so much that's said about velocity, and it's not that it's overrated, but location and movement are more important.
You talked about the injuries with the Cardinals and Pujols getting hit at the plate. We have brought with us for this World Series an infrared camera that is basically a negative look. It's like a negative image, and it picks up friction and heat. And the more friction, the wider the spot that's left as a print on the picture. As Napoli flies one into right, and this game is tied. Napoli shoots one way out the opposite way, and it's 2-2 in the 5th. That ball was hit a ton.
My goodness. Any place in that lineup, they are dangerous. 1 through 8 in the National, 1 through 9 in the American League.
And maybe it's something, Tim, about the #7 spot in the Rangers lineup.
Yeah, you're right. So far in the postseason, the 7th spot has garnered 15 RBIs. 15.
And hit 7 home runs. Ron Washington knew it right when it left the bat. As a light mist starts to fall here in the 5th. David Murphy with 2 runs home and 1 out. Takes one over the outside part, 1-1. Murphy lined out his first time up. Came in hitting .391 this postseason. 364 since the last week of August. Ball 2. Cardinals in their half of the 5th will have the top of the order. Strike 2. After Murphy, it's C.J. Wilson, which may give us a chance to show that infrared look at Pujols being hit at the plate. That's ball 3. Carpenter gave up 16 home runs during the regular season. Napoli just pounded one out to right, and Murphy chases for strikeout number 4. Let's give you a look. First, the regular look, color, nice and pretty and crisp, and now our infrared camera, the hot spot.
I tell you, this is weird to me, Joe. I don't know how they do that.
Look at his heel. You can see exactly where it hit Pujols, the back of the left foot, right around the heel. They didn't have that when you were starring for the Cardinals in the 60s.
I have no idea how they do that. No idea.
I think we borrowed that from TSA. An airport near you. Actually borrowed it from our cricket coverage in Australia. That pitch rides up and in.
Yeah, may have borrowed it from over the last year, the remake of The Thing. That's what it reminds me of. Very strange.
You're a little unnerved.
Yeah, I am.
Wilson taps out to Punto. And after the Cardinals got 2 in the 4th, Mike Napoli did something about it in the 5th. Number 7 from the 7th spot this postseason. And we're 2-2 halfway through game 1. Geico in-game box score for the Cardinals, with Furcal set to lead it off. He's walked and struck out. The RBIs belong to Lance Berkman with a 2-run hit last inning. 1 extra base hit. It's a double by Matt Holliday. Nick Punto's been on base twice. Top of the order for Kyle, Jay, and Pujols. Anybody gets on Holliday in a 2-2 game. Chop foul, strike 1. Rafael struck out his last time up. Cardinals, who scored first in all 6 NLCS games, scored first here tonight, but the Rangers jumped right back with a 2-run home run by Napoli. Blocks ball 1 in the dirt. It's 1-1. 53rd career postseason game at short for Furcal. That is in for strike 2.
We talk often about how a player is a winner, and Rafael Furcal certainly fits that bill. 10 of 12 times as his team's been in the postseason.
This is World Series number 1. For a guy Bobby Cox loved in his lineup, for a guy Joe Torre loved in his lineup, and for a guy Tony La Russa has learned to appreciate in a short time. Free agent to be, and I would say odds are he'll come back to St. Louis.
I would think so.
Here's a 2-2 outside, a full count. Furcal is at times a little battler up there and tough to get rid of. Switch hitting shortstop. Bruce has said before the game, I don't know why all these left-handers, and 3 of the 4 starters for the Rangers are lefties, should bother the Cardinals. We'll see. That is foul and will drop untouched.
Switch hitters usually prolong the count much more than like arms, like a right-handed hitter against a right-handed pitcher or a lefty against a lefty. The reason for that, they don't bail out. Switch hitters never bail out. The ball is always coming into them. Gives them a better chance to put wood on the ball.
leadoff walk as that's over but low. 4th walk overall by C.J. Wilson, and he invites trouble here in the 5th. Here's John Jay. Jay is 0 for 2 with a pair of groundouts. La Russa talks about a guy in that number 2 spot that is able to do, in his words, damage. And it's that enviable position of hitting in front of Pujols. Drops down a bunt, a good one. 1 out. Down to second is Furcal. That wasn't damage, but that was productive.
Enough damage.
Chase Freedom cashback players to watch. David Freese, who is in the number 6 spot, and the guy who hits 3rd. And his numbers from the NLCS hit .478, 2 homers, 9 RBIs. Albert Pujols, don't get shortchanged. Get your cash back with Chase Freedom.
In our meeting with Ron Washington, A.J. Pierzynski and Eric Karros asked Ron if they were going to treat Albert Pujols like Miguel Cabrera. Ron kind of giggled and said, well, yeah.
First base is open here. What frustrated Ron during the ALCS was his pitcher's inability to work around hitters, meaning instead of the intentional walk, the old intentional, unintentional walk. He said, but if I have to, I'll put up 4 fingers, which he just did.
You know, since you brought that up, the reason that pitchers can't pitch around some hitters is they're trained to throw strikes. And now all of a sudden, you're in a situation where you have to go out of the strike zone to get a hitter to swing the bat. You look at Cliff Lee last year with Aaron Rowan on deck, Edgar Renteria the batter, and Lee didn't pitch around Renteria, and Renteria had a 3-run home run instead of walking him to get to Aaron Rowan. And the Giants won their first World Championship as the San Francisco Giants.
That was in Game 5. We're in Game 1 here tonight in St. Louis. Tie game, 2 on, 1 out. And the batter is Matt Holliday, who doubled and scored his last time up. Wilson gives a look back at Furcal. Holliday 5 RBIs this postseason, 75 in a year that saw him 3 different times nurse injuries. A season that started with an appendectomy the first week. Hard hit. Beltre will try and start it. Out at second, out at first, a double play. And the Rangers turn it to end the threat in the 5th. Texas pitches around Pujols. Double play as a result. After 5, tied at 2. You want to know what was left as a souvenir from diving across the bag on the left elbow of Chris Carpenter? That's it. Under his sleeve. Just checking it out as the top of the order bats for the Rangers in a 2-2 game in the 6th inning, and miraculously Tim McCarver, both starters are in the game for the Rangers and the Cardinals.
Yeah, going into the 6th inning, but it's a tie ball game, so both strong bullpens. The Rangers, only the 2nd time in the 154 year.
Here's a little flare into right, and that is going to drop for a base hit. Leadoff man is on for the Rangers. It's Kinsler with Elvis Andrus coming up.
So I can slow that down a little bit. The best 4 out of 7 series, World Series and LCS, has been played 154 times, and only twice has the bullpen won all 4 games.
the other time back in '97 when Cleveland beat Baltimore.
Good game, though, so far.
Oh, I'll tell you. You gotta love it. You do, too, don't you?
Yeah, it's well pitched. Seen some good defense. Mammoth home run by Napoli. Good piece of hitting by Berkman for a 2-run single, and that's it. And what we both think, at least I do, and I believe you do, is a pretty evenly matched World Series going in.
Hot offenses and great bullpens. The surprise in the bullpen lies with the Cardinals, who struggled about half the year.
Here's a 1-0. And the bunt is a good one. The play is at first, and the sacrifice is good from Elvis Andrus, with Pujols feeding Punto at the bag. 1 out, and Josh Hamilton will bat the Geico in-game box score for the Rangers. Kinsler has a couple of hits. He's at second now with 1 out. Elvis Andrus just dropped down that bunt. A double for Beltre, a single. Came up in the National League with the Dodgers, so he's well aware of being in St. Louis. The temperature's down, and Napoli with that 2-run home run last inning. Here is Hamilton. Go ahead run at second, 1 out. Ball 1 bounces in. Josh is grounded out, struck out, and he is bothered by a severely strained left groin. Play here tonight, tomorrow night, travel day Friday, and pick up in Texas on Saturday night. This ball into center field. John Jay is there. Tagging is Kinsler. And the throw is stopped by Furcal. Runner at third, 2 out. And it gives the RBI chance now to Michael Young.
One thing that a guy like Yadier Molina gives to a pitcher is the confidence of throwing a breaking ball in the dirt. And that could be a very, very important thing for Chris Carpenter, because Molina moves around so well behind the plate.
So here is the guy that was number 3 in the American League, hitting .338. Michael Young, the face of this franchise. First popped into the big leagues in 2000. Bending back from a good bender from Carpenter, strike 1. That's a good curveball.
Yeah, you can't be afraid, if you're a pitcher, of throwing the ball in the dirt. You have to have full confidence in your catcher in making that play and keeping the ball out in front.
Here's the 0-1. Good pitch in on the hand, strike 2. To the right side, fair ball. Pujols the stop and the out. Not an easy play, and Pujols and Carpenter pulled it off to save a run. He doesn't just hit, he can play defense. Still tied after 5½. Lance Berkman first up, 2-2 game, bottom of the 6th, and ball 1 down and away from C.J. Wilson. Berkman with a 2-run single his last time up. Good pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. C.J. Wilson has turned in a good one so far, as has Chris Carpenter on the other side. Berkman now frees to follow, and then Yadier Molina. 1-1. Ball, I guess a foul tip. Berkman says why. On the swing, I guess.
Didn't look like he went around. We'll see if the ball made contact with the bat. Oh, no way.
Berkman was surprised to find out that was a called strike 2.
Ooh. Normally a catcher will not get this as a call strike if he drops the ball, which Napoli did.
So it's 1-2 and now 2-2. Good start to this World Series, the 107th World Series. Little flare out behind the second base position, and Kinsler hauls it in 1 out. That'll bring in David Freese. Very economical with his pitch count, 5 1/3. All the conversation being about the bullpens and lack of good starting pitching in both the ALCS and NLCS. Both pitchers could be the pitcher of record going into the 7th. Good pitch again. Wilson really hitting his spots. Strike 1.
Yeah, the starters for Texas, they are underrated, even though they had a bad LCS. 5 starters for the Rangers, won 13 or more games.
During the regular season, their starting rotation, the Rangers, had a 3.65 ERA. As Mike Maddox, their pitching coach, this postseason came in with a 5.62 ERA. Freeze, strike 2.
One of the reasons for that is Alexei Ogando is now in the bullpen, so he couldn't contribute as a starting pitcher. But boy, has he ever contributed from the bullpen. 2-0 in the LCS.
And Scott Feldman, who's actually pedaling to power that heater. Here is a 1-2. Down and away, 2-2.
He's subtly doing the wash.
Just kidding, that heater is plugged into a wall. And Feldman's just trying to get loose on a cold night. 2-2. That's well hit into the gap. In right center field, and this ball one-hops the wall. Freese has got a 1-out double. New series, and he is still hitting.
Well, we talked about how David Freese let the ball get deep, and that's why he hits the ball to right field. That ball is deep. There's no way to pull that ball with that type bat speed. It's a tailing fastball. David Freese hitting that ball at the back part of the strike zone and rifles one to right center field.
And that's precisely why Mark McGwire, his hitting coach, thinks David Freese is the type of guy to win a batting title if he could stay healthy.
That's right.
Now Molina with action starting for the Cardinals in their bullpen. It's Punto on deck, and then the pitcher's spot. And Napoli will go out and talk.
I think C.J. Wilson and Mike Napoli are talking right now about pitching around the hitter. Now you've got Punto, the 8th place hitter. Not only that, but if you do get down to the pitcher spot, it looks like Salas will be the pitcher in the top of the 7th inning. Antonio LaRussa will pinch hit for Chris Carpenter.
No action for the Rangers in their pen. Molina fouls away strike 1.
For those of you who may not know what pitching around means, it means you're not going to give the hitter anything good to hit. If he hits it, it's going to have to be a ball, not a strike.
One inside, and Molina pulls it foul, strike 2. That reminds me of the roster changes that each side made coming into this round. Koji Uehara is off the list. Same for Tadayama, a couple of right-handed relievers. Ron Washington added a 3rd catcher in Matt Trainer, and Mark Lowe, a right-hander in his bullpen. Here's the 0-2. That skips in, and Freese will go to third on a wild pitch.
Well, again, that's one of the problems in pitching around a hitter. Because if you're going to make him swing at balls, sometimes that ball is too low.
Now the infield comes in. The RBI chance is easier for Molina.
Ralph Kiner used to say, with the infield in, it makes a racehorse out of a mule.
Molina being asked to give the Cardinals the lead here in the 6th. Fought it off. Rangers have gone 10 consecutive games with 6 innings pitched or less. Longest streak in postseason history. Wilson's gone 6 1/3 as Ogando gets loose. Five and a third for C.J. Wilson, trying to get through the 6th, and he is in a jam here as Molina is putting together a pretty good fight. Still 1-2.
David Freese is not fleet of foot at third base. We talked about his double operations on both ankles, probably making the ball go through on a grounder.
Molina strikes out. Out number 2, and he chased one up.
Well, we talked about pitching around, and it appeared that C.J. Wilson did exactly that. The first pitch, the best pitch to handle. With Molina 0-2, the wild pitch, wearing him out inside and goes up the ladder to get him. Good piece of pitching by C.J. Wilson to get Molina.
And so now the decision for Ron Washington. You've got Punto at the plate. Carpenter on deck with Salas in the bullpen. And a guy like Alan Craig on the bench.
Well, you get Chris Carpenter out of the game if you intentionally walk Punto. Unless Fernando Salas is a decoy in the bullpen. So we'll see.
Now they're going to pitch to Punto. Looking for a 2-out hit. Ball 1.
Well, that's one of the problems. Folks in Arlington holding their breath. That breaking ball in the dirt.
C.J. Wilson trying to pitch around that 1-out double by Freese. 2-2 game, runner at third, 2-out. Again in the dirt, and Napoli is there to block it. Ball 2.
Good play, Napoli.
That's ball 3. The decision making here momentarily could go to the other dugout.
Yeah, I think you go ahead and put him on right here, trying to climb back.
Here is a 3-0. That's ball 4, first and third, and Carpenter will come back to the dugout. And Alan Craig will come off the bench and hit for St. Louis. Chris Carpenter leaves with 87 pitches on the night. Craig, who had a big pinch hit off LaTroy Hawkins in Game 6, a bouncer up the middle to score a couple. We're bad with runners at the corners, 2 out. We're in a tie game in the 6th.
Some guys are offensive players, some guys both sides of the ball. Alan Craig and David Freese, 2 very good offensive players, and I think Ron Washington now has seen enough.
If that's the case, that streak, the starting pitchers will continue for the Texas Rangers. But he has made no signal or sign yet to the bullpen.
I think Ron is biding time right now, and yeah.
That's it for C.J. Wilson. Cannot get through 6. And while the Rangers switch pitchers, Jenny O wants to remind you to make the switch to turkey.
All right.
As Ogando comes in, Alan Craig coming up. There has been no bigger weapon in any bullpen this postseason than Alexi Ogando, 13-game winner during the regular year as a starter. This guy has been shut you down good out of the bullpen.
I mean, just electric stuff. We mentioned it earlier. He made the All-Star team that was played in Phoenix this year as a starting pitcher. And here he is coming in key relief spots.
1st and 3rd, 2 out. Alan Craig off the bench. Ball 1 outside, 97. From Alexi Ogando, and C.J. Wilson goes 5 2/3. He walks 6. 2 intentional walks, 4 strikeouts. So far he's allowed 2. Craig trying to crank it up, 96, and it's 1-1.
Ogando, as much as any reliever on either side, can use the middle of the plate to get strikes. He doesn't have to pitch to the corners as Salas continues.
Chased it up, 97, strike 2. And Ogando's already trying to make an imprint on this World Series and the Cardinals' 6th.
As a hitter, you don't have long to determine whether it's a strike or not.
Into right. Cruz will make a catch, and now it's dropped. 1 run scores. Punto holds at 3rd, and the Cardinals lead 3-2. Nelson had it for a moment. It got away. And Alan Craig delivers off the bench for the Cardinals in the 6th.
Fastball, and the ball is tailing away from Nelson Cruz. Watch. Diving.
I'll never have it.
Nope. Hits his ankle, fortunately for the Rangers. Otherwise, if that ball gets by, Punto certainly would score, and nobody knows about Alan Craig. Maybe him too. Watch it hit his foot right there. That's a bad break for the Rangers, but a good break for the Rangers.
Alan Craig with a base hit into right. It's 1st and 3rd again, and that ball took a hop, stayed right along the leg of Nelson Cruz in right. Never got leather on it. And it's for Cal now with St. Louis up by 1 in the 6th. Strike 1 from Ogando. For Cal 0 for 1 with 2 walks. Ball 1. They pitched around Punto. La Russa went to Alan Craig, and he delivered. Now the 1-1. Big swing by Furcal, strike 2.
Boy, that was hittable right there. Fastball right in the wheelhouse of Rafael Furcal. Don't let that small stature fool you. He can hit a ball a long way.
He just tried. Hit 7 home runs in 50 games during the regular season when he came over to St. Louis. keeps it 1-2. So back to a battle of the bullpens. And here is a step to third, look to first. Nobody budged. Runner at first goes, fly ball into right. Well hit, back on the track, and caught by Nelson Cruz with a little extra reach and lunge at the end. Cardinals regain the lead on a pinch hit single by Alan Craig. 3-2 after 6. Back after this from your local Fox station. Now the Cardinals dip into their bullpen as Fernando Salas takes over. For a while he was the Cardinal closer. Cardinals have used 4 different closers during the course of the regular season. Jason Mott has settled into that role as Adrian Beltre was up there ready to hammer and fouled it straight back, and you can see he's frustrated that that thing isn't bouncing off somebody in the bleachers.
And tying the game.
Instead, it's strike 1. Cardinals lead 3-2. That's inside for ball 1. Beltre, Cruz, and Napoli. 5, 6, and 7 hitters. Each bullpen is quiet, although a lefty cranks it up for the Rangers in their pen. That's inside, a pulled foul. Strike 2.
Those are 2 grown men swings right there by Beltre. That first one foul straight back and just tomahawked that second foul ball.
Salas got a good change. Now Beltre hops out. Fastball in the low to maybe mid-90s for Salas. Michael Gonzalez, a left-hander, getting loose for Texas. Another foul. Carpenter can only be the winner in this game. He went 6, allowed 2 runs, 5 hits. Struck out 4, walked 1, allowed the home run to Napoli. He's due up 3rd in this 7th. 2-2. Beltre has doubled, singled, scored a run. Here's a 2-2 pitch. Broken back, ground ball to Punto. 1 out. And we give you a bullpen comparison. It is a strength for each side. During the LCS, Texas went 4-0. You see the ERA. 3-0 out of the Cardinal bullpen. The only win for the Cardinals outside their pen was Carpenter in Game 3 here in St. Louis, and the opponent's average against. But what you said is dead on. It's kind of ironic as Nelson Cruz steps in that the bullpen has been a strength here in the postseason. As this ball is into left center, the tying run is on with 1 out here in the 7th.
Well, going back to that play, the strength of the Rangers, you might say, was not having more damage loom behind Nelson Cruz. It hits his ankle. And interestingly, there's no one to trail the play because it doesn't do Josh Hamilton, the center fielder, any good. He stays there. Now, if that ball gets behind him, it could have been an inside the park home run if it rattles around in that right field corner, but certainly it would have scored another run for the Cardinals.
Now Salas gets a visit from Dave Duncan. As Zepchinski, a left-hander, gets loose. David Murphy on deck after Napoli, who is going to be the hitter 1 on, 1 out. Tonight's Volkswagen Passat trivia question: who is the only pitcher to pitch in more games than Arthur Rhodes, 900 of them, before making his first World Series?
That's a good question.
Arthur Rhodes, reliever that started with the Rangers and ended this season with the Cardinals. Pitch is inside to Napoli. Back in the 5th. That tied it. And it was not cheap. First American League catcher with a home run during the World Series since '01. Posada in Game 3 at Yankee Stadium against the Diamondbacks. Now the count's 2-0. That's over but low, 3-0. Rangers trailing by 1 as they bat here in the 7th. And on 4 pitches, Napoli takes a walk. A hit, a walk. We'll see if La Russa stays with Salas against a left-handed hitting David Murphy.
I would be surprised if Tony does, and once he takes his glasses off, he's heading to the mound.
So Salas has a rough first inning. He allows a hit, a walk after the ground out by Beltre to start. Zepchinski is coming in. David Murphy coming up. He's at least the scheduled hitter. 2 on for the Rangers in the 7th as they trail by 1. Zepchinski, a left-hander, got on a roll at the end of the NLCS and really handled left-handed batters, in particular Prince Fielder. But he is a future starter. Started for a time in Toronto, working out of the bullpen. He can get right-handers. And he will have to here with Gentry digging in, Craig Gentry off the bench, to bat for David Murphy. Murphy is out. And Gentry will walk in with 2 on, 1 out, and the Rangers down by 1 here in the 7th. The deal that sent Colby Rasmus to Toronto. That's over but low, ball 1, and Octavio Dotel gets ready for the Cards in their pen. So the parade has started out of the bullpen for Tony La Russa. 2 on, 1 out. A look back at Nelson Cruz, the lead runner. He singled with 1 out. And a walk to Napoli. Strike 1.
Had a look at Alexio Gondo, who is on deck. He was an outfielder for 5 years with the Oakland Athletics before he was converted to a pitcher in 2005. But the reason he was converted, he can't handle the bat. They loved his arm, so he won't be hitting.
Here's a 1-1. Foul back, strike 2. Last thing Tony La Russa tells Mark Zepchinski when he hands him the ball is breathe, relax. And it's helped get Zepchinski into the strike zone more often. Gentry trying to come up with a huge hit for the Rangers here in Game 1. looking, 2 out.
Lepchinski and the Cardinals get the high strike. Close. Tony La Russa realizing that the two dominant pinch hitters on the Texas bench, Indy Chavez and Mitch Moreland. But Ron Washington will have to send up Esteban Herman, who did not make an appearance in the LCS.
And this is his first at bat of the postseason.
In a key situation for the Rangers.
2 on. With 2 out. Mike Gonzalez, it appears, will be the pitcher in the bottom of the 7th. You know, this is one of the reasons why I'm surprised it's not a guy like Torey Alba. This is why the Rangers
that's right.
added another catcher.
That's a very good point, Joe.
So they could pinch hit, use one of their catchers and have one left, but it's not Torey Alba. It's Esteban Herman.
Right on the money. Couldn't agree with you more. It's just strange.
So Torey Alba's left on the bench, and Herman will be the man. With 2 on, 2 out. Lead man is Nelson Cruz. Trail runner is Napoli, 2 out.
By the way, the Cardinals have one more reliever than the Rangers. The Cardinals carrying 8 relievers, the Rangers 7.
Here is Herman. Strike 1. Herman has been in the box watching guys throw simulated games during the postseason, but nothing with any importance. What a time for his first at bat. Strike 2.
Regardless of how many times you've been around, nothing could train you for this position right here.
Inning over. And the guy nicknamed Scrabble because of all the letters in his nick and his last name, Mark Zemchinski, comes in to strike out 2.
It's a 5-letter word, S-T-R-I-K-E.
And it's still 3-2, time to stretch here in St. Louis, game 1. Josh Hamilton moves from center to left. Craig Gentry, who pinch hit and struck out in the top of this 7th, is into the game in center. He hit from Murphy, and now on the mound is Mike Gonzalez, who has done this so far this postseason. He will deal with John Jay, Albert Pujols, Matt Holliday, or just John Jay, as Scott Feldman is off the exercise bike and now on the mound getting loose. Strike 1 from Gonzalez.
By the way, I said strike had 5 letters. It has 6. I was figuring that out between innings. So that's why I was a bad Scrabble player. What can I tell you?
Jay grounds to short. Elvis Andrus. 4-letter word. He is O-U-T. This is World Series game number 1, along with our producer Pete Macheska, our director, the best in the biz, Bill Webb. We've got Ken Rosenthal, Chris Rose, Eric Karros, and AJ Brzezinski, and Tim McCarver. I'm Joe. That's it. for Gonzalez. You saw that summary. We'll give you a better look at it when Feldman is into the game. 1 out, nobody on. Pujols and Holiday coming up in a 1-run game. There's that game summary again. 3-2 as we're in the 7th. Napoli tied it with a 2-run shot in the 5th, but Alan Craig with a go-ahead pinch hit single in the 6th inning. First go-ahead RBI by a pinch hitter in the World Series since that thrilling '96 series between the New York Yankees, who Wade Boggs was playing for, and the Atlanta Braves. That's us. And that's Scott Feldman, who's been outstanding this postseason.
8 2/3 innings of work. Only 3 hits and no runs. 9 strikeouts and no walks.
He's right into the action to deal with Albert Pujols, who's been hit by a pitch, intentionally walked. The intentional walk paid off in the 5th inning when Holiday followed with a double play ball. Strike 1, good tailing pitch. 93 from Feldman. Gonzalez 1/3 of an inning. Same for Ogando. One out, bases empty, 7th inning. Good game. Good pitch. Strike 2. Top of the order will be at the plate for the Rangers in the 8th. Ball 2. Octavio Dotel will be on the mound for the Cardinals. Ball 3.
If Albert Pujols goes out of the strike zone to swing, usually it's at a ball in the dirt. He won't chase away if it's thigh high. Or if he chases away, he'll make contact.
Into center, Gentry slipped, but he recovers for out number 2. It's got to be a great feeling to slip in a World Series in the outfield on a routine fly ball.
Yeah, first chance. Craig made the play, recovering in time, recovering nicely. There's the slip and the catch.
Need to resod this field. U2 was here during the summer. And not as bad as Texas, but pretty close. It was a scorching summer here in St. Louis. Anything but tonight. 48 degrees, a mist, windy. Holiday, strike 1, tied up. Good pitch from Feldman. Matt Holiday with a double. There's the mist. Two out and the base is empty. The 0-1, strike 2.
Boy, those are 2 terrific pitches from Scott Feldman. The fastball in off the plate, and now the slider off the plate. I think Matt Holiday will see that pitch again. That slider away. Nope. Yep. Yep. Something away.
With 2 out, nobody on. The 0-2. And Napoli was asking him to bounce it. He wasn't asking him to throw it 58 feet.
That's what pitchers do. You see, if you don't put down the right fingers, they throw one in the dirt. That's the splitter, and a good one. The reason it's a good one, it's a waste pitch. Trying to get Holiday to bite, he didn't.
And now the 1-2. Outside, 2-2. with the bases empty. Holiday floats one to Kinsler, and the inning is over.
Johnny Bench, the best player, best catcher to ever play the game. That's my view. Nobody else really was even close on both sides of the ball.
You saw Descalso taking over at third for David Freese as Dotel comes in to pitch. First up is Ian Kinsler, top of the order. Dotel's got 2 hitters in his sight, and he just took care of the first. 1 out.
Well, it's nice when you can come in a game, the first game of the World Series, throw 2 sliders and have the second one a check swing. Easy out for Dotel.
And this is the second hitter. You've got the left-handed hitting Hamilton on deck. And that's why Arthur Rhodes, the left-hander, is getting ready for the Cardinals in their bullpen. And if Hamilton gets on, back to the right-handed hitting Young. That's why Lance Lynn is getting loose. Here's Elvis Andrus. Strike 1 from Dotel. It really wasn't talked about much in that deal the end of July when the Cardinals made that 3-team trade in Toronto and the White Sox, but Dotel has brought a lot to this Cardinal bullpen. Experience, and he has lightened the mood down there. Strike 2, and he's still got good stuff.
I'll say his 12th major league team. That ties Ron Vallone, a left-handed pitcher, and Mike Morgan, a right-handed pitcher, for the most teams in the major leagues.
All 3 pitched for the Cardinals.
Right.
Here is an 0-2 pitch. Got him on 3 straight. 2 out. And a nice night's work for Octavio Dotel.
Well, I'll say a slider for a strike, a slider check swing, and then 3 straight fastballs to get Elvis Andrus.
And now the matchup for Arthur Rhodes. 20th year in the big leagues. His first World Series. His opponent, Josh Hamilton. Arthur Rhodes has one objective here tonight, and that's to get Josh Hamilton. Ken Rosenthal is with us. Ken, what is Arthur Rhodes doing in the dirt?
Well, he is scrolling the initials of his late son Jordan into the dirt. He lost his son Jordan at the age of 5 to an undisclosed illness in December 2008. He told me, I'm going out there to play for my little boy. His first one, his first World Series, is for him.
Hamilton first up against Rhodes. 2 out, nobody on. Dotel got the first 2 in the 8th. And Arthur Rhodes, who started this season with the Rangers and now ends this season facing the Rangers in the World Series, brings it home to his former teammate. And just missed outside. 2-0.
In fact, Arthur Rhodes is being paid only $100,000 by the Cardinals and $1.1 million by the Rangers. So he's pitching against a team that pays most of his salary.
Here's a 2-0 off the hands. 2-1. And now Mott, the closer, has replaced Lance Lynn with 2 out in the inning. Mike Adams on the other side, but if Hamilton reaches here in the 8th, it'll be Mott. Here is a 2-1. 3-1. On deck is Michael Young. Rhodes was cut loose in August. The Rangers and John Daniels made those additions to their bullpen. He was expendable. What does Hamilton do on 3-1? He fouls it a full count. Hit it one-handed into center. And the Cardinal bullpen in the 8th is up to the task. Rhodes Rhodes in his first experience in the World Series gets Hamilton. After Dotel's good work to start the inning. Bottom of the 8th, game 1, Cardinals back, up 3-2. That RBI by Alan Craig in a pinch hitting appearance, the difference in the game. 3-2 as we go to the bottom of the 8th, tonight's Volkswagen Passat. Trivia question, the only pitcher to pitch in more games than that man, Arthur Rhodes, 900 before making his first World Series. The answer, John Franco, who appeared in 940 games before his 2000 New York Mets reached the World Series. They lost that series to the Yankees.
On a Luis Sojo hit up the middle off Al Leiter.
Where were you when that happened?
About 2 stories higher in the broadcast booth with you.
Here is Berkman against Feldman, strike 1. That's how good the bullpen work has been across baseball during the postseason. That includes the division series. 29-0 are teams when leading after 7. It will be Mott, the 9th. Here's a 1-1. And it will not be easy for Mott. The Rangers have the right guys coming up. Young, Beltre, and Nelson Cruz. Descalso on deck. 2-1. 3-1. Off the end of the bat. That is foul and will get out of play. Full count. These fans have packed in here on a 48-degree night. It has been raining the last few innings. It rained most of the day. They've been treated to a good start to this World Series. Good game, well played. 3-2 pitch and a 3-2 game. And Berkman tests Kinsler, and he's on to start the 8th. Infield hit with Descalso coming up. The World Series on Fox is sponsored by Audi, Truth in Engineering, by Pepsi Max, 0 calories, maximum Pepsi taste, and by Jenny O. Make the switch. Look for Jenny O Turkey at a store near you.
Fine play by Ian Kinsler, but he couldn't get Lance Berkman. And you got to figure with Daniel Descalso up there, that Descalso, I beg your pardon, that Daniel will be up there to bunt. And then what do you do with Molina, Puto, and a pinch hitter down the line? All sorts of things turning for both managers.
Does bunt, it's perfect. Napoli makes the play, and Kinsler gets over in time, 1 out. Down to second is Berkman for Yadier Molina. There's the night for Molina, 2 ground outs, a strikeout. The left-hander Darren Oliver, just so you know, getting loose. The Rangers in their pen.
He's getting ready for Skip Schumacher, who could be in the hold and be the pinch hitter for Arthur Rhodes. A lot of wheels turning here in the 8th.
There's Mott getting ready for the 9th. And Yadi chant for Molina. Fouls it away, strike 1. Glad you're watching on Fox. Top of the hour, 10 o'clock here in St. Louis, 11 in the East, 8 out west. Game 1 of the World Series. Cardinals led 2-0 in the 4th, tied it. The Rangers did in the 5th on a home run by Napoli. Cardinals regained the lead, pinch hit RBI single by Craig. Off Ogando in the 6th. Ball 1 to Yadier Molina. Back at it tomorrow night. Colby Lewis, Jaime Garcia. There's a former Cardinal, Darren Oliver. Broken back. Going to third is Berkman with 2 out. And now it's Nick Punto with a runner at third, 2 down. Feldman trying to keep this a 1-run game for the big bats coming up in the 9th. We're going to have some matchups in the 9th with Mott against Young, Beltre, and Cruz. Punto has a hit. He's been walked twice. Strike 1.
Wicked slider from Mike Adams. Well, that ball just diving. I beg your pardon, Scott Feldman. Good slider to get ahead of Punto.
Big run sitting over at third base with 2 out. Feldman will work from the windup. 1 ball, 1 strike.
With the advent of most relievers working from the stretch now, it is unusual to see a reliever who is working from the windup. Gives the guy on third a bit more of a chance to score on a wild pitch.
Punto hits it foul. And that's strike 2. Greg Gibson, the first base umpire, had to get out of the way and make the call. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Inside, 2-2. Runner at third, 2 out. Ball 3. There is Schumacher in the on-deck circle. Well, with Oliver out in the bullpen. Cardinals also have Terrio. La Russa wants to make that switch. Here is a 3-2. And Punto strikes out looking. Good work by Feldman. And he keeps it a 1-run game with that guy set to lead it off. Michael Young, Adrian Beltre, Nelson Cruz coming up. Big bats for the Rangers. Down by 1 into the 9th. The last team during World Series play to come back trailing after 8 innings to win. Game 7, the Diamondbacks to win the World Series over the Yankees against Rivera. Strike 1 is poured in from Jason Mott as Schumacher takes over in right for Berkman. Mott has been virtually unhittable this postseason. And he makes the play on Young. Throws a rocket to first, 1 out.
Get the radar gun out. That throw to first base, probably in the low 90s. I mean, he throws a seed to Albert Pujols.
Former catcher. He's got a great arm, obviously. Can touch 99, maybe 100 on the radar gun. Beltre. That's a foul ball. And now they're not saying foul ball. Out. The home plate umpire never made the call. And right now they've got 2 outs on the board.
This conjures up the famous shoe polish play in the 1969 World Series when Earl Weaver was run from a game. Check it out. Sure looked like it hit his left foot.
That first replay looked like it missed him.
You know what, though, Joe? A batter can't act that quickly. Here it is on our unusual camera. It looked like, I don't know. Well, it did, Nicky. It did. A hitter cannot react that quickly. If he feels the ball hit him, he doesn't run the ball out. So if he doesn't run the ball out, to me, that's the best evidence for an umpire to call. If he didn't see it, obviously it was not seen from the field. But it just off the left toes. But you can't go down like that. You're not doing an acting job. Your job is to get on first base. Nobody can think that quickly.
Let's take another look and see if there's anything that lights up. And right off the tip of the shoe.
Right off the toes.
That ball nicked him. But it's out number 2.
That's right.
And a big bat is gone for the Rangers. Now 2 out. And a ball outside.
One hitter in the Rangers lineup has 2 hits tonight. I beg your pardon, Ian Kinsler also. But one of the 2 just made an out.
And here's the guy nobody could get out last round. Wearing a Tiger uniform, Nelson Cruz, 1-1. 6 homers in that ALCS. Drove home 13 runs. And the Cardinals are 1 out away from taking game 1 of this 2011 World Series. Here's a 1-1. Ball 2. Mott didn't get his first save until the 28th of August. Cardinals went from one closer to the next, to the next, to the next. Mott has the best stuff of all of them. Strike 2.
And again, staying away from Cruz. They've stayed away all night.
And a season that started with a blown save by Ryan Franklin. Game 1, the home opener. They've kind of taken to the new closer around here. Outside, a full count.
Good call by Jerry Lane, the home plate umpire.
Cruz trying to tie it with one swing or just get Napoli to the plate, who is homered tonight. 3-2 pitch. Fouled straight back, and what a rip by Cruz.
What a rip at a mistake. I think Mott wanted to stay away. Came inside. You could see Molina setting up a way, that ball drifting back to the middle of the plate. Cruz missed it.
Channing, let's go, Mott. He throws a cutter, he throws a slider, he'll change up every once in a while. Nelson Cruz, the most feared hitter in this Texas lineup right now, waits for a 3-2. And that's one into left center field. Coming to get it to end the night is Holiday. And the Cardinals win game 1, 3-2.
Last pitch, 3-2, a cutter just off the plate, and Cruz hitting it on the end of the bat to left center to give Holiday a chance to drift under it.
And the Cardinals, who crashed this postseason party and just will not go away, lead this World Series 1-0 in the best play of tonight's game. Brought to you by the Audi A8. True greatness should never go unrecognized. Just out of the reach of Nelson Cruz in right. The game-winning pinch hit single for Alan Craig. And he's with Ken Rosenthal. Ken.
Thanks, Joe. Alan, first and third, 2 out in the 6th. Alexi Ogando on the mound. Tell me about the at-bat.
Man, he's tough. You know, he came right at me with fastballs, and, you know, I missed the first 2. You know, that last one, I was trying to get the barrel on it, you know, make the defense make a play, and, you know, fortunately, I kept it fair, and, you know, Cruz made a great attempt on that. It was a great play all around.
What did you know about Ogando coming in? How much video had you seen?
Seen a little bit. I know he throws hard, and confirmed that when I was in the box. You know, he brings it pretty good, and you know, he's got great stuff.
Talk about Carpenter tonight and also your bullpen.
Carp, you know, he did what he usually does. You know, he was our leader out there tonight. Went out there with 3 strikes, got early outs, and you know, he led us tonight. It was great.
Alan, thank you very much. Thanks. Joe, back to you.
All right, thank you, Ken. We'll take a break. We've got more to come from St. Louis. What a good start to this World Series, game-wise, well played, tight, more like the regular season. Better pitching, offense was down. In the end, the Cardinals win it 3-2. Take a break and come back after this.
So easy to go back now and armchair quarterback this thing after the loss. Had it gone differently, I know there were things that strategically you guys had questions about regarding what Tony La Russa did with pinch hitters.
Well, the good thing about hanging out here with Case, and I know I'm on the set with him, you know, after a game, is we sit in the room and we watch it together. And we weren't second guessing, we were first guessing a lot. And we said after a lot of those instances, that's why they're in the dugout.
And we're eating Chinese in our office.
That's right, we're hanging out in the office, and it was actually really good.
Okay, good.
But anyway, there was a lot of moves to be made, especially when you're in a National League park. You know, the idea of the double switch, when do you do this? When Carpenter came out of the game, both of us were sitting there going, look, it's a tie game. Yeah. It's 2-2. You got Wilson throwing. We've seen him throw a few wild pitches. Carpenter's pitching. I don't know about this move right here. As it worked out, Tony La Russa made a move. Yeah. Gondo comes in. Craig gets a knock. Ends up winning the game 3-2. So that's why we're up here.
Yeah, exactly. And Carpenter's sitting at 87 pitches, I think, 2-2 ball game. We figured, you know, leave him in the ball game there. But hey, Tony has the heartbeat of the club. That's what he's been doing. Every button he's pushed has worked. Fires out Alan Craig in there. Ogando comes out blowing cheese, 98, 97, up. And Alan Craig does a great job. And this is the toughest thing in baseball, is to come off the bench cold, especially when a guy's throwing so hard. But what happened was he gets to 1-2, and then you see right there, Ogando he elevated on most of the fastballs, and that one he got down, which one that Alan Craig could handle, dropped the bat head on it, flipped it into right. Big hit right there to make it 3-2.
And you know, we sat here last year and we were talking about all the buttons that Bruce Bochy pushed with the San Francisco Giants. Right. La Russa has capable people, and I think that's the key. Ron Washington talked about it as well. If I put my guys in the right position and they perform, I don't have to worry about anything. And that is the bottom line, because you got to give Craig all the credit. Yes, Tony made a move. If Craig goes up there and punches out, he's second-guessed all night long if the Cardinals don't win. So he went with his, you know, the pulse of the situation. Craig comes through with a knock. They end up winning 3-2.
So many of our guys here and so many experts nationally had been saying, listen, something's got to give here. You can't keep doing this Johnny Holstaff thing throughout the postseason. When you look at it realistically and you have to win only 4 more games to be World Series champs, why not? And I think that's what Tony La Russa told us today. He went to Chris Carpenter early in the estimation of some, and it worked out.
Well, I don't think you can go Johnny Holstaff if the starter goes 3. You have to have enough out of your starters to do it. Both teams have been flirting with a recipe that doesn't work, you know, to get to this point, but yet they are here in the World Series. The starting pitchers did their job tonight. Both of them gave their team a chance to win, and then Tony was allowed to go to the bullpen and do some matchups, and he did them pretty well.
But you're right, though. When you're here, you got 4 games. You got the offseason about 10 days away. Listen, these guys know if you need me in the third, you need me in the fourth. Tony, if you need to make 8 pitching changes, we'll be there for you.
Let's talk specifically about Chris Carpenter, because the way the ball game started out, the leadoff base hit, the botched hit and run play you talked about, then he has to dive at the bag to make that play and get out of the inning. And at the beginning of the day, there was questions about his elbow. You know, it had the makings early on of this thing going very bad very quickly for St. Louis. That just never happened.
He seemed to be pretty wound up today, too. He missed with a few pitches. You could hear him, some of the things that were coming out of him. He was wrapped up in the game. He was ready to play. But what I liked about Chris Carpenter is early on, he wasn't hitting too much in the middle of the strike zone. That ball had a lot of sink on it. It looked like his two-seam fastball was really coming back. Here he froze Josh Hamilton. That was a 3-pitch at bat right there. And when you can 0-2 freeze somebody like him, you're doing pretty good. Got away with that pitch right there to a pretty good hitter, but that just proves that you can hang some stuff. But the movement on his two-seam fastball, I thought was outstanding today, and nothing seemed to nestle into the center of the plate. The one to Cruz looked like it was one of those cement mixers, Case.
Yeah.
Whatever that breaking ball was trying to do, it didn't do much, and it fooled Cruz there too, so he got away with one. But I thought he threw the ball really, really well.
Like you said, Rip, I think the best thing about Chris Carpenter tonight when you watch him, he was commanding both sides of the plate. He had his two-seamer working, he had his cutter slider working, good curveball, and he just was not living out over the plate. And that's a recipe for success, and I think that's what Carp did good tonight. The one pitch he kind of left out over the plate is the one that Napoli made him pay for.
I think for Tony La Russa not saying officially that Jason Mott is his closer, we all know that that's his closer. And you know, we might be on the verge of watching a guy early in the stages of what could turn into a dominant career. I mean, he was blowing high 90s there in the ninth, and nobody really sniffed him. There was nothing close.
No. And who does he get out at the end of the game? Nelson Cruz. Threw him a 3-2 breaking ball. I mean, he's throwing 96, 97. Looked like he challenged him with the 1-3-2 fastball. Really right down Broadway. Cruz fouled it back. Came back with a little slider. But I tell you what, this guy throws extremely well. Good fastball, good breaking ball. Might be something special in the future.
No, I tell you what, he is the closer. He's the closer of the future. He's the closer now, and he's the closer of the future for the Cardinals. This guy has lights-out type stuff, high 90s fastball. And what I like about Jason Mott right now, as opposed to last year when they kind of tried to give him the closer role, is that I think he's gained that experience and that confidence to know, you know what, my stuff plays up here, and it's dominant stuff, and it's closing games out. 5
relievers, again, used by Tony La Russa's St. Louis Cardinals. All the stuff he started with Dave Duncan in Oakland in the late 80s, setting up Dennis Eckersley with the Gene Nelsons and Dave Leapers of the world, and everybody has their guy, their role. It continues, and the Cardinals use that to a successful formula to snatch Game 1 at home. St. Louis with the advantage. They're winners in Game 1.